A lot of these commercial brokers never actually advertise the properties that they have listed. They put them either on their individual website or they have them as a quote unquote pocket listing. So it can be really difficult to find the diamonds in the rough that are out there that real estate brokers know will sell extremely quickly. And they usually just pocket those, advertise them to maybe a handful of clients that they've worked with in the past that they know will close. And that way they double end whatever commission there is involved with the sale of the property. And nobody really ever knows it's for sale. My name is Christian. I'm glad you guys could make it today. We're going to go through where we find a lot of our multifamily investment properties that we've been purchasing. Some of these I'm sure that you guys have probably seen before. Some of them probably you haven't. And then we'll go through a secret way of finding out how to get owner information, especially if a property is in an LLC or a corporation, how you can go about finding who are the directors of that company and hopefully being able to get in touch with people that way as well. So if there's a property that you've been keeping your eye on that you really wanted to make an offer on or acquire, you'll be able to figure out hopefully how to get in touch with the right person so that you can get your offer in front of them and get it accepted. So let's get started right now. The first one is very, very simple. It's the LoopNet and CoStar portal. Basically, LoopNet, if you haven't used it before, is like an MLS for commercial properties. It's also connected now to CoStar, which is the paid version, allows commercial real estate brokers to post their properties and for people to search on them, find it, whatever it is they're looking for in whatever particular area. You can set up individualized searches for properties, any type of property type that you want. And, if you're looking for a specific location, search and find all of the properties that are associated and held in the CoStar database. Anyone can post on LoopNet. Some of the properties on there are older. Some of them are just used as lead generation tools for real estate brokers in order to find buyers, similar to how the MLS works. But a lot of them are decent listings, and you can contact them directly either through LoopNet or CoStar and contact the broker and get more information, including the offering memorandums and make an LOI. So it allows you to search anywhere in the United States. Crexi, which now happens to be my favorite, is similar to LoopNet and CoStar. It has a lot more properties on it than those two and allows you to find just about whatever it is that you're looking for. It's also a great lead generation system for brokers again, and allows brokers to put their property listings on there and use them as marketing tools to find whatever it is, hopefully find buyers that they're looking for in order to capitalize on their listings. But again, LoopNet, CoStar, Crexi, these are all ways for you to go and search for properties to find those commercial properties, whatever it is you're looking for. If it's a multifamily, if it's an office space, if it's developable land, they're all there for you. In Crexi, you can actually go and submit a LOI to directly right online. So once you've registered and logged in, you can put your terms together and send it over directly to the listing broker who can review it. Although I've never had a listing broker get back to me directly from an LOI that I've submitted through Crexi. Usually you have to reach out to them, get their email address, get their contact information, basically demonstrate that you're able to close. And then once you are, you can get their attention and submit an LOI directly to them that way. But LOI, if you didn't know, too, letter of intent. So that just basically lets the listing broker know that you're interested in the property. Here are the terms, and we'd like to go under contract. If the owner's acceptable to it, let's go ahead and structure a purchase agreement together, get it into escrow, and then move towards closing. So LoopNet, CoStar, Crexi are two of the big ones. Then it's going directly to the source, right? A lot of these commercial brokers never actually advertise the properties that they have listed. They put them either on their individual website or they have them as a quote unquote pocket listing. So it can be really difficult to find the diamonds in the rough that are out there that real estate brokers know will sell extremely quickly. And they usually just pocket those, advertise them to maybe a handful of clients that they've worked with in the past that they know will close. And that way they double end whatever commission there is involved with the sale of the property. And nobody really ever knows it's for sale, but you'll see some large brokers out there. Marcus and Millichap is usually one that if I go to their website, they may have a lot of properties that aren't listed on Crexi or LoopNet or CoStar. And these are just in-house listings that they'll advertise to their database of buyers and hopefully be able to get their a buyer to come to them directly, like I said, so that they can keep the entire commission. Another one of these is CBRE, CB Richard Ellis, which I'm sure you probably heard of. They also too have a lot of in-house listings that never actually make it in front of most of the buyers that are out there. They are just available on their website. Some of the ones that don't sell get advertised, but most of the good stuff gets directly under contract in a matter of probably days once they know that there's a buyer that they can match the seller. So the Kirkland company is one that we've gone to now on multifamily. They're only available in the southern states, some of the Midwest as well. And they have a lot of great multifamily listings. They've really built up their listing inventory significantly over the last couple of years. And they have a lot of great properties. They put together a really great offering memorandums too on all of them. So you can tell right off the bat if you're interested or not. They usually are working with larger properties, not so much in the 10, 20, 30 unit space, although here's a 32 unit, but most of them are 100, 200, 300, 400 units. So the property values are significantly higher. We're talking 10, 20, $30 million for most of the properties that they list and sell. And most of these are sold fairly quickly. They have a call for offers that are usually submitted within the first week or two of them having a proper listing, and the properties go under contract shortly thereafter. So they're not available, at least the ones that are priced accordingly are not available very long. That's one thing too that's been very relevant, similar to the residential space and real estate, where the properties that come on the market are usually sold within a matter of days, if not hours. So the properties that you're looking at, or the properties that you're looking for, if you see them on the internet, 9 times out of 10, they're already going to be under contract. So that's a difficult thing. You want to really get in touch with the listing broker directly, know what's coming on the market. With Kirkland, though, they will show you some of the things that they've already sold. And then they have some news and information as well about their properties. But for most of the listings, you're going to want to reach out to the broker and get their information, reach out to them directly via text message or email. And that way you can get in touch with them and find out if there's anything that's not listed for sale that may be coming on the market soon. And that's where you might have your best results. That's where I know where we get a lot of our properties from, is the properties that aren't listed. They will call on something that looks good, but it's not available. And then we get to talking to them, let them know what our criteria is. And they're like, hey, we've got one coming on the market in a week or two. This one sounds like it might fit your criteria. So we can get an LOI in and maybe get it under contract before anybody even sees it. So that's great. So where do we go in California? I'm a licensed California real estate broker, so I have access to the multiple listing service, the CRMLS, the California Regional Listing Service. You can search for commercial properties, although most residential agents don't usually don't work in the commercial space, although some do. And you can find the commercial properties that are for sale. And searching through the MLS, you'll find all the commercial sales, and some of them obviously are multifamily properties as well. So you can go through the MLS that way, look for properties that have 10, 20, 30, 40 units involved with them. And if they are available, you can reach out to the owner directly or to the listing agent directly and be able to get more information on properties that way. The last way is my super secret and very good way to contact owners directly. Property Radar, if you don't know, used to be called Foreclosure Radar. We started using it back in 2008, 2009. Sean O'Toole is the owner of the company. I don't have any affiliation with them, but it's such a great tool that I always like to promote it whenever possible. But it basically allows you to search on any property. It used to be in certain states, California, Arizona, Nevada. Now it's just about anywhere in the United States. So you can just put in a property address, or you can put in a specific area or certain criteria that you're looking for. And all of the property information will come up, at least all the public records for the property will come up. It's got great tutorials and different ways that you can search on properties. You create lists, which basically I've done here. And you can create lists of foreclosure properties or certain properties in certain areas. In this case, I put together lists of apartments or multifamily units in Chula Vista, and you can see there's 54 in this list. It brings up the properties themselves, and you can see where they're located on the map, and then you can click on specific properties and get the information about them. The nice thing is that the contact information is the first thing to come up. And if there is contact information that's public record, you'll be able to see that as well. But you can see all the property information, which is great. Everything about the property, from the legal description to the size of the property, how many units. In this case, it's 97 units built in 2018, so it's almost new. The approximate value based on automated valuation, so an AVM model, is $32 million. And then you get comps too. In this case, there's not a whole lot of comps because there's not a whole lot of 97 unit newer buildings in the area. The property tax information, the mortgage information, the sale information. And if it's listed for sale, you can also see that in Zillow and Redfin and the major portals that are out there. So Property Radar is a really great tool if you're looking for properties that aren't on the market and you want to get all the information about them. And the cool thing about it as well, like I said, is that you get the contact information. But you were like, okay. So in this case, Mark I is the owner of this property, and here are the properties, other properties associated with them. So it actually shows those as well. In the case of a property, though, where it's not owned by an individual, say with this one again, it's owned by Akaton Stone Creek LLC. How do I get that person's information or who the owner is there? So in this case, and in any case where you have a corporate entity, you can actually search directly on the California Secretary of State's website. And if you do, you can do a business search on LLCs and corporations. And it allows you to bring up the corporate documents about that person or that entity. And once you do, you can actually see who are on the statement of information. So in this case, we're going to look up an LLC and we will search on that. And boom, there it is. So this is actually an LLC that is founded in Delaware, but the LLC has a corporate service company which does business in California. So it has to be on file in the state of California as well. If you click on the document or the link itself, there you go, statements of information and registration. So you get all the documents about the company, in this case, the name, where it's located. There's actually looks like the articles of organization. Oh, here's the application for foreign entity. So the next document that you would take a look at is the statement of information. So in the statement of information, you're going to see who the directors are. In this case, we've got Elizabeth Kimmel, and she actually lives in Las Vegas. So at that point, Elizabeth is either the CEO or the director of the company, and you can look up Elizabeth's information by doing an easy skip trace on this person. You got your name and your address, which is fairly easy to look up the information about the person, or you can send them direct mail or whatever your preferred way to contact people is. But like I said, with a lot of these, you're going to get their information in the Secretary of State's website. So even though they've formed an LLC or they think that they're being, they're not traceable, you can't get in touch with most of these people and find out all about them. So the nice thing is with a app like Property Radar or something similar, where you can look up property information. If you're driving down the street and you see a property that you like, you can look it up directly in there. It actually takes you to a Google Street View where you can see, here's probably your property information, but it was maybe built right over here since it's newer. It doesn't even show up on the Google Maps portion of it. But again, there you go. You've got your ways of searching on things, your LoopNets, your Craigslist, the individual Marcus and Millichap's, Kirkland companies of the world, your MLS, your California Regional MLS, and Property Radar. Property Radar, if you haven't used it before, you can try it for free. I think it's still a 3-day trial that you get. Yeah, free 3-day trial. So you can log in, take a look at it. Doesn't make you put any credit card or anything like that. And then you can see if you like it or not. I think we do the complete package now, and it's $80 a month. Gives you all the information. Like I showed you, we don't have any affiliation with them, so there's no links or anything. But if there's something that you like, you can sign up right on their website. And yeah, that's about it for today. I wanted to just show everyone how we find investment properties that are out there. We currently have one property that's being syndicated right now in our apartment syndication investment fund, which is the Hampshire Park property. It just went under contract about 3 weeks ago. We just finished up our due diligence phase. We're going to be closing in probably another 3 to 4 weeks as soon as we've got the appraisal and all the other documentation in place. And it's a nice 36 unit apartment complex that's located in Harlingen, Texas, which is the very southern tip right next to the Gulf of Mexico and Mexico itself. So right by Brownsville, Texas, which is where Elon Musk just moved SpaceX to, about 30 minutes from Brownsville. And it's a really nice area where the rents are increasing. And this is a brand new complex as well. So excited to be closing on that here shortly. I'll open it up to questions though. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know and I'll answer what I can here for the next 10-15 minutes, and then we can call it a day. Also, if you wouldn't mind, make sure that if you liked everything, go to the meetup group or hit the thumbs up button, make a comment, leave some comments down below how you find commercial investments. If there's a way that you like to use that's something that you saw here or something that you do that's unique to yourself, and how you find great investment properties. I always like to network and figure out what other people are doing out there as well.
How you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm okay. I missed two of the websites that you said after around LoopNet and Marcus and McMillan, right? Or something like that.
Marcus and Millichap. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
you
recording.
said
Yeah,
two
I'm
other
recording this
websites.
as well, so I'll replay it for you. If you missed anything at all, you'll be able to find it. But the main websites that are out there for you to search, or any public searches, are LoopNet, which is going to be your main CoStar website, which most commercial brokers have access to, and they put their property listings in there. And then Crexi. And Crexi is similar to LoopNet, where you're going to be able to go out and search on specific areas, specific property types, and be able to find what's available. Crexi, I find, has more listings on it than LoopNet because commercial brokers use it as a lead generation tool. They really have a nice marketing profile, and they allow buyers to contact that broker directly. You know, a la how Zillow works on residential properties. I would say Crexi is pretty close to that as anything else that's out there. But LoopNet itself too is very good. You can go out and find exactly what you're looking for on LoopNet. And then if you don't find something, these are kind of the public sectors, you can go directly to the commercial real estate brokers that are out there, Marcus and Millichap being one of the largest ones, and then CB Richard Ellis, which is CBRE's website.
Right.
The other one that I mentioned is more of a local regional apartment broker called the Kirkland Company, and they have a lot of listings in the southern states and the Midwest. So you've got to do a little bit of homework to find some of these listings. And in the Kirkland Company's case, here's where they're located. Here's where they have all their listings. They don't go outside of that area, but they also too do not advertise their listings on LoopNet or Crexi. So if you're looking for something that you may not find on the other ones, you can always come here and take a look. They also too do not cooperate with outside brokers. They only sell them in-house. So there's no cooperation with brokers. They are the listing agent basically, and they take the entire commission. But in this case, I don't know if they're charging owners a premium, you know, like a typical listing agent for a residential property would charge 5 or 6%. I'm not sure if they're charging, 2.5 or 3% to just do the listing side of it, or if they're still charging that 5 or 6% and just keeping the entire amount. But they do put together a really great package, and they do sell their properties extremely quickly. So I'm pretty impressed with what they do. And we found, we found one property that we're going to go under contract with probably here in Tennessee that's listed by the Kirkland Company, and they have a lot of unique properties or different properties than are listed out there. The other sources were the CRMLS.
Well, I got all of those. Thank you.
Okay. So the CRMLS was the other one.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have a quick question if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'm pretty new to all this, and I was thinking of getting into multifamily, like I guess 2 to 4 units.
Uh-huh.
And I think the biggest hurdle right now are the loans. I've never gotten a loan before. I know my credit's good, but my I guess my last 2 years of employment have been rough. So, what do you think about that or tips?
I'm gonna give you a source right here that we went to. So beginning of this year, 2021, I went out to about 30 commercial lenders that were out there, spoke to a lot of brokers, and got as much information as I possibly could about who offered what type of loan program where. And the best source I came to is actually called StackSource. You can go to stacksource.com. Again, I don't have any affiliation with them. We've used them for what, 2 loans, I believe. They charge a 1% origination fee, which is typical for most of the mortgage brokers that are out there. The nice part is that they work for the buyer, which is us, and not on the lending side. They're not a lender. They're kind of a go-between, a middleman. But what they do, which is similar to Lending Tree on the residential side, they take all of your criteria and what it is that you're looking for and the property that you've got under contract, and they post it onto their site, and they syndicate it to all of their lenders that are in their actual database. So you might have 1,000 or 1,500 lenders that have access to the property that you have under contract. They go out there and they see if it fits into their portfolio. Each commercial lender has a little bit different qualifications or ways to be able to get the loans or the loan packages that they offer. And it's not like residential where you've got your FHA, your VA, your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac products. Commercial, you're talking about specific niche products for most of these. You do have some larger agency products that are available, your Fannie Mae and your Freddie Mac and your HUD. But those are going to take a really long time, especially on your initial application process to go through. I've heard that after you've gotten approved by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, the next time goes quicker and quicker, but it's a 90 to 120-day process at a minimum on the first time that you go through them. And most sellers right now, especially in this market, do not want to wait that long. So we're going directly to the lenders that are in the areas where we're acquiring property. Right now, we're acquiring in Texas, Nevada, Tennessee, Georgia, Arkansas, Florida. And so usually what we're doing is going to credit unions or local banks that know the area and going directly to their vice president of lending and saying, hey, we got this property, we've got the qualifications here, here's the P&L, here's the income statements, and figure out which one is going to be best. But StackSource has actually allowed us to go directly to the lenders themselves without having to contact everyone individually. So I'd highly recommend, if you've got a project that you're looking at, even if you don't have it under contract yet, that you go out there and you get a representative from StackSource to kind of walk you through the process. It took me about an hour and a half the first time I spoke to somebody, walk through all of the loan products that they had, all the different lenders that they have in their database, not all of them because there's 1,500, but a lot of the different programs that were out there, and just basically discuss what the criteria was going to look like. Once we had a good idea of what they had and they had an idea of what it was that we were looking for, it was easy to upload all of our information directly into the system, all the property information, all the details, all the due diligence and financials, and then let the platform do its work, right? It's just basically it's putting you together with loan officers or lenders that allow you to go out and pick which loan is going to be best for you. They've got their rates listed right there, their terms. Most loans, as you know, in the commercial space are not 30-year fixed. They're going to be 5-year fixed, probably at the most, maybe 10 years if you're lucky at a little bit higher rate. But you're usually looking at an adjustable product or at the most of a 5-year fix, and your amortization periods are going to be somewhere between 20 and 25 years on the high end of things, sometimes 15, but usually we're looking at about 25-year am. So the payment schedule is going to be higher. On a 30-year fix, your payment schedule is going to be out over those 30 years, whereas the 20 or 25, you're going to have less time to pay off. So your monthly payments are going to be higher. But there are all kinds of commercial programs that are out there that allow you to factor in improvements to the property and to get additional amounts for things that you're going to do in the future, which aren't available really on the residential side. So say you're going to buy a 100-unit apartment building and you're going to do $1 million in renovations and improvements. they're going to give you an 80% loan on that acquisition value. Say it's $10 million, so you get $8 million on that. And if you're going to do $1 million improvements, they might give you 80 to 100% of that as well. So at the end of the day, you're walking away with a loan for $9 million on a $10 million acquisition, but $1 million is sitting in an escrow fund waiting for you to do those improvements. The banks love that because they get to lend out that additional $1 million knowing that you're going to improve their underlying asset. And it's so much better for us as owners and operators because we don't have to come up with that additional $1 million out of our pocket to do those renovations and those improvements. And at the end of the day, you've got a product, a multifamily building that's yielding a much higher net operating income. So the value of the building's not gone up by that $1 million, it's gone up by 2 or 3 million. So that's really what we're looking to do on our side, is get those value added components as well. Did that help answer your question?
Yeah, so I guess then you'd recommend the next step would just go to go on StackSource and see what my options are.
If you've got something in mind or you've got something under contract, I would also to understand that you need to have somebody who's going to basically guarantee the loan. For just about all of these, they're going to be recourse loans. So I do recommend that you have somebody who has a really strong, borrower that has really good financials. If you're trying to get a non-recourse loan, you can, but then you're looking at 30 to 35, maybe 40% down on some of these products. So if you're looking for a 20 or 25% down, or some of them are 15%, you do need to have a guarantor, somebody who's making a significant amount of income in order to qualify for that, that leverage that you're going to use to acquire the property. If it's 5 million, 10 million, $20 million, they need to have financials that show that demonstrate the ability not only to make those payments, but to basically guarantee in case something was to happen. They're going to be the ones that the lender comes after for any repayment that has to be made. So those are the couple of little caveats I'd add to the lending process.
Oh, okay, sure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I got a question here from Kent about where's the best place to find comps on recent sales. And Kent, that's a great question. There is no great place to find comps. So CoStar is the partnered for LoopNet. They're actually the owner of LoopNet. They bought LoopNet about, I think, 5 or 6 years ago now. Maybe it may have been longer. But CoStar basically hoards all that information, similar to how the MLSs, your CoreLogics and those types of groups own the MLS data. CoStar owns almost all of the commercial real estate data, and they've spent a lot of money and a lot of time to go out there and do the research to get the comparable sales data and the comparable lease data, which is even more difficult to get. CoStar is expensive. They're about $1,000 a month, just depending on what region you're in. And that gives you access to their database where you can look up all that stuff. But there's no public records like there is in the residential side, where you can go see what a property sold for, like on Zillow or Realtor.com or Redfin. So it really is hard to comp out properties. Now, if you're dealing with a real estate broker in a specific area that has access to LoopNet or CoStar, you can usually get that from them. But again, they're going to want to make sure that you're going to become a client, and it's going to be a give and take relationship where they'll share data with you, like, hey, this property is worth $8 million because the next door neighbor sold for $8 million, and this is the reason why. But you can't figure out that data yourself, and it's really difficult a lot of times to comp these properties out. The best way to do that comp wise is to either go off of a capitalization rate, which most of them will show you. That's a net operating income multiple that basically shows you what the net operating income is going to generate as compared to the purchase price or the listing price of the property. In places that are really desirable, like California, New York, Florida, the cap rates can be in the 3% range, 4% range on the high side of things. And in the Midwest and in some of the Rust Belt states, you're looking at 6, 7, 8, up to a 10% capitalization rate or possibly higher. But those are for the lower desirable areas where, you're getting a different kind of tenant base that may or may not be as desirable. And that's why the values are lower. So the purchase price is lower, therefore the capitalization rate's higher. And in the places where the properties are more desirable, the rents are higher, the capitalization rate is going to be much, much lower, and your purchase price is going to be much, much higher. I got another question in the chat here. So where in California is the best place for multifamily? In California right now, I would not buy anything. And that really speaks to how bad California's got as far as valuations go. The space is extremely speculative, and it feels exactly like it did to me in 2005, where people were buying things based on the fact that they thought they were going to go up in value. There's no underlying fundamentals to anything in California. And that doesn't matter if you're in San Francisco, Los Angeles, or Fresno, or Davis, or Riverside County. The property values for multifamily stuff are similar to what they are for residential. You're looking at valuations that in most cases don't make sense. And when we're looking for properties that we want to purchase, we're looking for properties that are going to allow our investors and the syndication to make somewhere between 8 and 12% on a monthly income basis. That's after everything's been paid, right? So after all expenses, after mortgages, after property taxes, after insurance, after repairs and capital expenditures, we want to be able to see around that 10%, of additional income that's coming in every month so that we can give distributions to everybody who's a part of it. In California, that's impossible. You're not going to find any multifamily investment that you're buying that's going to allow you to distribute, in the 10% range to yourself or to an investor. And so it's not a great investment, in my opinion, when you're buying call it a $10 million apartment building and you're netting out each month $5,000, right? If you're netting out $5,000 on a $10 million apartment building, what is that, 5%? No, it's not even 5%, 0.5%. So, I mean, it's a really bad investment to make. You want to net somewhere, in the neighborhood of whatever you want yield wise, but I'm looking for double digits when I possibly can get them. And so in California, I just haven't found anything that makes sense. The ones that I thought might make sense, they have too much in terms of expenses that would go into them in order to make them, improve the value. And there's just a lot of competition. So that's why the prices have been driven up so dramatically. CompStack for cops. Oh, I haven't even seen CompStack. I'll take a look at that. Nationwide commercial real estate. Okay. It looks like there's data on here. I haven't heard of CompStack. That was recommended by somebody in the chat. So I just wanted to bring it up really quickly. There are a lot of resources that are out there, but like I said, CoStar spent a ton of money putting together a database that's proprietary to them, that they track what's sold, what the leases are, different portions about the properties. And that's usually where most of the commercial brokers are going. And like I said, the expenses that you pay for it are incredibly high as well. So it's a resource that's this expensive for a reason. I mean, people want the data and it's expensive to get there. Good question. I just got a question in the chat about valuations and what I think is going to happen here over the next couple of years. As I mentioned, this feels a lot to me like 2005, 2006. And in that, if you lived through that and you were a part of it, we owned a lot of units back then, but I also made the mistake of buying land and office space and single family flips and just thought that I could do no wrong, right? Because I started investing in 1994, and from 94 until 2006, the market only went one way, and that was straight up. So I figured that there was only one way that the market could possibly go, and I overleveraged myself with the simple fact that on paper, you've got a spreadsheet that says, okay, your liabilities are 20 million, but your assets are 30 million. But in 2007, 2008, 2009, that ticked down to the point where the mortgages outstanding were 20 million and the amount of equity was negative $6, $7, $8 million, because all of those pieces of real estate were not what I should have owned at the time. What I did find is that with multifamily investments, the apartments that I owned, and I owned about 200 units in Los Angeles, Phoenix, Albuquerque, Houston, they kept their value, which was great. So I couldn't sell them at a premium, obviously, in 2008, 9, and 10, because the market had already shifted and turned. But I did sell them pretty much for their value, what they were worth. And I could use that money. I unfortunately sold them and used that money to pay off some of the debt or to bring myself current with a lot of the other projects that I had going on, thinking that they were going to, turn around and be worth the same amount, if not more, than I paid for them. Bad mistake at the time. That I should have just known that land has very, very little value except in an appreciating market. And the land that we bought, lost about 85, 90% of its value just quickly. When things turn, when it comes to land, you don't have any value on that. The only value that you have is in your mind, thinking that, okay, I can do a development here and I can make it worth more money. But people don't want anything that's non-asset producing or non-income producing when the market shifts. I do think we're going to have a shift here just because we're due, right? We've been going up since 2011, 2012 is when things kind of turned around, and The government has still been printing tons and tons of money and keeping interest rates incredibly low. But at some point that's going to end, and we're going to see a correction in just about every market. The nice thing is when you do have an income producing asset like multifamily, I'm hoping that it's similar to like 2008, 9, and 10 when we do have that correction. We'll see the continued, at least, stability of the multifamily space, if not a little bit of appreciation, because people need to have a place to live. I'm sure you've heard it before. There's a reason why apartments are a great investment. People always need a place to live, and there's always going to be a need for not the A-class apartments, not the high rises in downtown, but the B and C-class apartments that are on the outskirts, that the rents are 60% of what they would be in the city center, 50% of what they would be. So, a $1,200 apartment or a $1,500 apartment is going to be, something that's going to hold its value much, much better than a $3,000 or $4,000 apartment, or in New York's case, a $20,000 apartment. So I feel like that when we do have that shift, and that's why I'm taking all of my current investments, and I only have one property left that we have as an Airbnb, and shifted them into the multifamily space. And we've been syndicating these investments now. My business partner, who's an attorney, has been doing it for about 4 or 5 years, and I just got together with him about a year ago, and we've been buying stuff now. We'll have over 114 units this year, and next year we're going to try to shoot for between 250 and 300 units. So we're going to continue to acquire through this boom. The nice thing is that the rent market is always behind the sales market. So rents have not caught up to the purchase prices or the values of properties, and rents have been ticking their way up 1%, 2%, 3% a year. But the property values, as last month in July was a record, right? It was 18%. United States, throughout the country, property values went up 18% in 1 year. It's never been done. It's insane. So when property values go up like that, 18%, that we're due for a correction. The question is not if, it's when. So we're probably going to see something here that happens in the next year or two. Nobody has a crystal ball and can predict that, and I don't know as well. But my I guess my feeling is that there will be that correction, but I want to be in a very stable asset that allows me to continue to get income throughout that downturn. And the nice thing is hopefully we'll be able to pick up some really undervalued properties too, that when that happens. But I do think that there will be that significant decrease in prices here in the near future. All right, I'll do one more question here and then we'll call it a day. I'll let everybody get back with the rest of their afternoon. So I did mention that if you're going to put 15, 20, 25% down on most of these multifamily properties, commercial properties, you're going to need to have a guarantor or a partner or somebody who has the financials to be able to qualify for a property that is that significant of a value. In which case you're going to probably want to have somebody who's earning, $1 million a year, if not, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, somebody who's a professional. I found that my business partner is an attorney. He has his own law practices, one in San Diego, one in New York City. And he's the perfect guarantor. He makes a ton of W-2 income every year. And at the end of the day, he's what banks want, right? They want to have that stable income source. So in case something was to happen and the real estate market was to shift and the asset that the bank lent money out on went down in value, and they lent out $5 million on the $6 million property, that you put 25% down on, but now it's worth $4 million. Well, what can they do? All they have is that guarantor. So if they had to foreclose on that building and sell it for $4 million, they have a $1 million deficiency. They can go after the guarantor for that deficiency judgment. And that's why, most banks that have a lower down payment, that 20% down for a commercial property, are going to ask for a personal guarantor. At least the ones that I have found will. Again, if you don't want to do that, you want to have a non-recourse loan, there's plenty of lenders out there that'll do non-recourse. It's just most of them are going to ask for at least 30% down. So if you're putting 30% down, no need for a guarantor. If you're buying a $5 million apartment building and you want to just go out and get a non-recourse debt on it, same as what would be recourse debt, the difference would be you're putting $1.5 million down, whereas the non-recourse, you might only have to put $1 million. So that's going to be the difference between most of the commercial loans that you're going to see that are out there. I did want to thank everybody for coming to this, and hopefully you got some great information out of it. Again, if you could leave a like and make sure you tell a friend, share this with other people. It helps to keep the community growing, and I'll continue to make great content. Hopefully, again, if there's anything that you need about real estate, feel free to direct message me. You can go to our website or to the meetup page or to our YouTube channel, and we can set up a time to chat via Zoom or whatever's most convenient for you. But again, thanks for coming out to everything. Have a great rest of your day.